when we look at just the words of like review or check-in, I think that's backwards looking. And so
Yes.
much of it is like, nope, we're here now, having the most information we can, using the readily available, like here and now. Let's be forward looking. Let's be present and looking into the future of what we have.
What's up, buddy?
Scott, good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah, here we are, middle of the year. Um, January was like a lifetime ago. And we always, most of the time we focus on technical, tactical things that people can be doing to help themselves in their financial lives. You and I are also huge fans of taking time to be mindful and clear about what it is that will have you flourishing in life. What are the elements in life that will have you jumping out of bed on the balls of your feet and getting after it? From that, I know you and I both, but I'm sure many people at home, set some goals. Those New Year's resolutions fell off a long time ago, but it is the halfway point of the year. So it's a lovely time to check in on what am I aiming for? What matters most to me? And then look at those goals and check in on, am I on track? Do I want to let them go? Should I keep them? Should I
Mhm.
double down on something? So I kind of thought it'd be fun today to geek out on that for a little bit.
Right? I wanna run a study one time because I wonder if you and I are just so hardwired this way of just how we're set up, like every other financial advisor, it seems like. And we're a unique subset of people who just love setting goals and recording it and tracking it. I get excited every calendar turn in January of like, okay, what are my goals and intentions? And I wonder often how many other people are wired that way, or if there's just, I love notes and spreadsheets, but we know not everybody is. But
Mm-hmm.
nonetheless, it is great, whether it's quarterly or in this case, midway through the year, to
Yeah.
look back
So
and say, how have we done? Because that often it's revealing, right? We're either crushing it or oftentimes I'm very guilty of this. My goals and intentions are way too long. And then I find like that's not even really that important. If I just recentered and just accomplished one thing, it'd be a great year.
yes. The frame, I know we kind of thought about it as calling it a mid-year check-in. The way that we meet with clients, we see them at least annually, and we're checking in with them quarterly,
Mhm.
proactively on what's going on their cash flow and their investments and their estate or their insurance and their taxes, so that they're kind of the core planning's happening throughout the year without them having to sit down with us. It's just asynchronous planning throughout. But we always have what we call an annual renewal meeting. And I kind of liken this conversation to that. It's the semi-annual, it's the mid-year
Mhm.
renewal meeting. And it's renewal is such a beautiful word versus review or check-in. Because it's like both of those, one has a backward connotation where we're like,
Mhm.
did we do
Yeah.
it? I'm going to
Yep.
judge myself.
Yep.
And then the check-in's like, I'm moving forward, but I'm also still in a sense judging myself. And so I'd rather look at it as a renewal, because you're basically coming back to the idea of, who are you? What matters most to you? You like for me, one of my things is I say, I want to keep a small business for a while so I can be present with my boys as they're growing up. Well, I can look back on that and go like, am I doing that to the level I want to be doing that? And part of it is, don't hold it in, don't beat yourself up about it necessarily, but be honest. I kind of view it as, be kind. So don't be nice, be kind. Being
Mhm.
nice would be smiling at you but not telling you that you have spinach in your teeth. Being kind would tell you you have spinach in your teeth. Right? And so like hold yourself in that manner to look at, what is it that I want out of life? And then if you do have these goals and things that you're aiming for, let's check in on them to see what should we do with them.
Absolutely. I think one of our favorite questions we love to ask too when we look at this, right, is has anything changed? Because oftentimes the people we were, or we'll say the container, the environment, the circumstances we had, we'll just say in January to keep things simple, are probably really different than they are today in June,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
just met with a client a couple weeks ago, And it had been a couple months in between phone calls and emails, and he had missed his review meeting, and we finally got together, and my mind's racing of all the things that could have happened, and why weren't we meeting? And he said, "Hey, I got laid off from my job. I've
Yeah.
been trying to find another job, and all the goals that we set, I didn't know how to approach that meeting. I got a new job, and things are great now, and had some personal things going on, and that just completely, wrecks the plan, right?" And so it's like none of that matters in that moment. How do we hold space with our client and be like, "Great, a lot of things have changed. Like, let's start over."
Yeah. You just want to give immense empathy in that moment because,
Yeah.
in his eyes, he's like, I got to show up to Nick with my perfect plan, with my
Yep.
perfect solution. And he think, but that's not what this work is. This work is we're the
No.
guide in your life. And the moment that something bad happens, we want to know about it so we can help you,
Yeah, and you said
you
it
know?
earlier, like, when we look at the words of like review or check-in, I think that's backwards looking. And so
Yes.
much of it is like, nope, we're here now, having the most information we can, using the readily available, like here and now. Let's be forward looking. Let's be present and looking into the future of what we have.
We talk about tactics and strategies all the time on this show, right? But the thing that we do, the reason why you and I both love the planning work that we do, is that we are planning in a terrain that is unknown.
Hmm.
We have assumptions about what will happen in the terrain. That's how we get guesses on like rates of return and taxes and all these various components. But what we do is we show up and we go like, man, Nick, what does an amazing life look like to you and Kristen?
Hmm.
And where are you today?
Yeah.
Okay, knowing where you are today and what matters most to you, we think we know what you guys want to aim for. And we're only going to know by aiming and trying. So we're going to go try with the best of our ability, put in the best plan we can, and we're going to start at point zero and we're going to get together. And here we are 6 months later, we're going to come check in and it's point five. And the question is like, are we on the path that we want to get there? Did things change? Did something shift in life? And we're choosing that the goals that we wanted are no longer the goals that we wanted? Because that's what this work is. It's a process. It is not a plan. It never is. Like that's the joy of it. But it's the essentially what the one of the most human professions there is because you're just dealing with humans and their lives and trying to help them cobble together what it means and make guesses and be woefully wrong and sometimes perfectly right and everything in between.
Hmm. Yeah, it's the only thing constant is change, right? And so we look at it as financial planning. It's a verb. It's in motion, right? It is moving, changing, adapting, and your plan, our conversations with our clients should also be adapting and adjusting to that. And so, when we meet with clients, I like to look at it through the framework of when we're meeting, whether it is mid-year or for a review, or if it's been an extended period of time since we last got together and we're asking, "Hey, has anything changed?" You know, part of what we're asking is, I think a simple framework of, "Hey, has anything changed?" Right? Let's get up to speed and be current. So has anything shifted in your timeline? Right? Are we still aiming at that right target? You say all the time, Scott, like we have to figure out what building we're leaning our ladder up against to make sure like when we're climbing it, we're getting to the top and saying, "Hey, this is where we want to be."
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, when we start to look at, circumstances aside, from the example that I gave, like if we're still find ourselves in that same container from our last meeting, and maybe things haven't uh, transpired or been accomplished, I always like to look at, why didn't that happen? Is it actually important? Because oftentimes we find, and this is true in a lot of other avenues in life, certainly in therapy or whatnot, is we find clients that give us answers we feel that they want us to hear. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get an A from Scott if I say I want to do a Roth conversion. Well, maybe it's not even important to our plan. And it was just something that we felt like we needed to have. And so that's also, as we go through this, figuring out like, is this still relevant and are we still aiming for it? Or do we need to make some adjustments?
Yeah, and that's the joy of the work that we get to do. You and I, we don't talk about it all that much, but we do a slightly different form of planning where we do financial life planning, where what we're really doing is we're focusing on who is Nick as a human being and what makes him flourish? What are the elements
Mhm.
that need to happen in his life to feel like he's fully alive?
Mhm.
And then we want to know the same thing of Kristen, because they're two individuals who choose to walk through life together. But ultimately, what you're looking at is the it's not really a thinking question. It's more so a what turns on, brings energy to Nick, and what does that for Kristen. And then with that, you understand, okay, here's how they want to focus on building their life to get that. And then there's the financial stuff. The reason why we have jobs is because financial stuff is not exciting and most people don't want to do it. So they pay someone to do it, and that's us. And so our job is to connect the energy stuff that they really want in life, show them why Roth conversions help them get that faster so that we go do them. Show them why they need life insurance to protect so that Briggs is okay if something happens to you, right? Like that's our job to facilitate that for you. But ultimately the question is who are you? What are you aiming for? And has that shifted or changed? Because if it has, the choices that we're making with your finances are going to change.
Yeah, because I mean, without that energy attached to it, it's just a static, lifeless assignment, right? And that's why it
Yeah.
goes unnoticed, or it
Yeah.
goes undone, rather, I should say. Um,
There's
it's
I'd call it anecdotal because it's not, it was 138 advisors, but there was a writer in our industry did a survey of 138 advisors who did
Mhm.
full financial plans and asked after 6 months what percentage of the plan had been completed. And the answer was 30% of the people, if we say there's 10 things to do, had done 2 or more things, which means the rest, which was 50%, had done 1 or less, and then 20% had done nothing. And that's because it's largely about a thinking system. It's not designed to be supportive of who are you as a human being and what do you want. So when we do that, that gets you to go, it gets us to move on things. And then us removing boulders from you, like we did a show on um, cash flow systems, like
Mhm.
making it so that the cash flow system automatically happens so you don't have to think about it. That's a huge value add, right, of work that we get to do. So it's like, that's our job. But we're kind of I'm realizing I'm getting off topic because this is about you checking in on your goals and what you have. Um, what's a good way to do that, sir?
I like to go back to the drawing board. Simply, if you have in January or whenever the last calendar meeting was, actually set goals and intentions of I'm going to save this much or I'm going to wake up at this time. I like to go back to it and say, what's serving you? I also like to ask the other, like the second layer question too. And this is a little deeper, but it's like, how is that also serving those around you? Like I think about in my life, my wife, Kristen, my son, Briggs. And so when I set up goals and intentions, it's like, how is this working for me? But also, how is this working for those around me? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to golf every day, that really wouldn't be working very well for my family. So we're not doing that. But I think we touched on it a little bit earlier in the episode. But I like to look at I love marking things off as like progress. Like, yes, did that one. It feels good just to get the pen out. I get a big Sharpie and just cross it
Mm-hmm.
out. Right. Um, if there's been no action, it's not serving me. And so that may have served me or the idea and the framework of who I wanted to or I thought I would become back in January. If I accomplish this, it may not be important to me any longer.
Yeah.
Um, and then if there's something I've been scared of, I just haven't taken action. I think I always like to break it down. Like that thing's still sitting there. What's
Yeah.
just one step I could take? Just the
Yeah.
next step.
Yeah. I think, I literally keep my goals and intentions right here next to me. So like I was looking at them recently and especially around health, I will say one of the things that I did was I put too much on it. So for me, it was I want to be surfing daily, lifting twice a week, stretching morning and night, doing a bunch of zone 2 cardio, hitting a specific amount of protein. It's basically like I've listened to too many um, health guru
I'm
podcasts, right?
stressed just listening to that. Yeah.
Eat more hummus and chickpeas because my B6 was low, and no to little booze. And it's like, well, if I check in on those and how have I done? I've done a kind of mediocre across the board.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things to look back, I'd think about there is thinking about what's the internal driver? Why are you
Mhm.
doing this?
Yeah.
And I think some of the things there that I said I was doing because um, it's what other people were doing.
Mm.
It's what
Wow.
the like health bros are talking about you have to do to be a healthy person at this day
Mhm.
and age.
Yeah.
And the question is, well, like, what's enough for me? I think that's where the reorientation needs to happen for me for the next 6 months.
Yeah. 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 That's great. Tying it back to like what's most important to you. I know Kristen and I, we have another little one coming in October, and we got our butts kicked the first time around, and so knowing what's ahead of the corner, like I'm taking things actively off my list because I know the season that is soon approaching of just like, hey, as long as our little family is doing okay, like that's okay for these next couple months.
Oh, dude, you've heard it here first. The next kid is going to be so easy compared to the first kid. If you had a hard first kid, I still run by this, and anyone can challenge me. Children fill the space that exists in the house, the void, right? So if you have a house that already has a hellion
Like
in it,
this much room left. Yeah.
if you already have a crazy kid, next one's going to be chill. If you have a chill one first, you're in trouble. So you're going to be just fine. Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that happens um, when you do look at your goals, you actually get to see how are you doing. But I think one of the things, obviously, but one of the things is I think people are kind of afraid to see where they are.
Hmm. As like a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. I've,
Right.
I've set this for myself and I'm not accomplishing it.
Yeah. Or it should be
And
further.
I think
Yeah.
I think letting go of that, kind of no blame, no shame, just
Hmm.
like, I'm trying to do my best. This is the human condition is taking a step to try to improve, and it's one step forward with two back. Like that's just the way the world works. So, but at least if you look at it again and you ask, what was this about? What does this really matter to me? And I think
Hmm.
sometimes it's nice to have the frame above. Like if my simple frame for myself is I want to live a life in which I am um, get to be the best husband I can be and best father I can be is the core. And then I want to be help grow a business to help people. Um, and I basically want to like build fun stuff, like things with my friends. That's why like you and I do this podcast together.
Hmm.
It's like, so long as I'm doing those things, I'm good. So then I think the question is like, is everything on that goal sheet serving that?
Hmm. Yeah.
And then if I'm looking at the goal sheet, like I'm looking at that goal sheet on health, and I'm like, "Phew, man, like I really didn't do it. Like I haven't been in the water for a while because I started golfing a lot more. Now, golfing 1 to 2 times a week and breaking 90 is on my list, and I'm on my way there. So
You are.
it's kind of in contention with some other stuff, right? Um, so that has to be there too. But I think ultimately the question is, what am I going to do next? So am I going to slim down that health section and just have one thing and make it a habit next, rather than having 7 things?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, this comes back to like the laser intention where I'm like, I personally try and do too many things. And then I realize I made no progress in any of those categories. And so that's where I'm like, okay, for every category, can I just choose one? Now, if I start making great progress on that, maybe I could dovetail into the next one and the next one and the next one. But for each category, can I just choose one thing, take the next step, see progress, get excited about it, move on to the next?
You just reminded me of Greg McCowan had a book called Essentialism
Yep.
that's all about that. And so the idea is if you drew a circle and you put all of your energy going a little bit in every direction, you don't move anywhere. But if you take all of that energy and put it in one direction, you move quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'd say on the financial side, we recorded an episode all about systems. And, sometimes some of these meta goals, whether it comes to faith or spirituality or health or what, some of these are a little more difficult to track.
Hmm.
Others are just as easy as having a system in place and then getting up and doing the dang thing.
Yeah.
And so if it is, as we're recording a financial podcast, right, things to do with we need to be saving more, get our finances in place. We just recorded an amazing episode on how to actually build that system, how to track those goals, so on and so forth. But I think really the crux of so much of what we do is coming back to who are we and how is our money serving us to create that life of fulfillment.
Exactly. Because it's like, ultimately, when you think about the lens of your own life, people show up to our offices to talk about money,
Mhm.
but rarely do they actually care about the money. They
That's a wild
almost
thing.
always care about some version of freedom. And
Yep.
the freedom could be for connection with family. It could be for their relationship with their spouse. It could be for their spirituality. It could be for creativity. It could be for, so many different things. But it almost always comes back to I want to free myself from my ability, need to work so I have the freedom to do the things that I want. And the thing is that if rather than you just focusing on I get to do that when I'm financially free,
Mhm.
you get clarity on what does freedom really look like to you now? Like, what are the essential elements for you to live a flourishing life today? Then you start figuring out how do I get those things in my life a little bit more right now, even while I'm working?
Mhm.
And you just live a better life.
Yeah. That is quite literally at the top of our meeting agenda. Like a fulfilled and essential life to me means, and then we play the game of like ad libs. There's a big blank line and put it there at the top because that is our North Star that we keep coming back to. And that we know we've talked about it on this episode and we've seen it show up. It changes as circumstances and life changes,
Yeah.
but that's got to be front and center before we answer any of the other questions.
Well, and I say that, and it's like a lot of people, a lot of us don't know what we really want.
Hmm.
It's there underneath, it exists inside of us, but it's not the easiest thing just to think. It's more so something that you feel. And that's kind of the joy of the work that we get to do with clients is like when Nick thinks something, he does think it, but if he writes it down and I get to say his words back to him, it literally goes through his ear canal into his amygdala and chemicals are released and he feels his own words. So he gets a sense of all the things that matter to him. What are his priorities? What does give him energy? What fills him up? And everyone's answer is different. And it's not about judging people on their answers. It's about them knowing their answers, us knowing their answers, and helping them get more of that. That's the fun of the work. And then you look at the goals you have and you say, am I getting there?
Hmm.
And if I'm not, well, let's change it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun exercise to go through, and I think that's a great place of just how do we keep that front and center? How do we have that serve as our attention, our true north, and come back to that?
Yeah.
So
Cool. Well, good luck for the next 6 months. We'll see how we end up.
certainly. All right, Scott.
Till then, bye.